I'm actually here this morning representing the American Cancer Society Cancer Action Network. We are the nonprofit, nonpartisan advocacy partner to the American Cancer Society. We're a C4 organization, and all of our federal, for the most part, all of our federal legislative activity happens under what we call ACSCAN, under that umbrella. Converging technologies is actually happening at a very good time for ACSCAN, and I think for most organizations that really rely on grassroots to be their power and be their influence in Congress and at the state legislator level. 5 years ago, 10 years ago, everybody was building huge lists, and of course everybody continues to build lists today, as any nonprofit does, but we were building big lists for the purpose of sending out large numbers of emails and then having our volunteers send large number of emails to their members of Congress, to their elected officials. But what's happened really, as we've seen more and more over the last few years, is that the influence of email, especially at the congressional level, is declining. A recent report from the Congressional Management Foundation that I saw said that in 2006, Congress received 313 million emails. So sort of a staggering amount. You divide that by 365 days a year, 535 congressional offices. That's more than 1,600 emails per day per office. And you can imagine those who are a little higher up in leadership, have more influence and more power in the Congress, are receiving far more than that average. The other thing that we've seen is sort of this creation of AstroTurf, whereas you have organizations that are sort of just using their mailing list to send emails on behalf of their volunteers to Congress. They're not actually coming from the volunteers, which I'm proud to say all of our emails do come directly from true volunteers and true individuals. So on top of this swarm, sort of this uncontrollable swarm of emails coming in, you also have a bit of a decline in the credibility of emails. Congressional offices aren't certain which emails are from real people and which are just being generated from lists. And so what we've been doing in the last few years is actually using these converging technologies to take a bit of a different approach to how we attempt to influence lawmakers. We are certainly continuing to do the email thing, and we'll do an email thing probably in the next 2 weeks again about a large, important piece of legislation we're promoting. But we are also using these technologies and using our online resources to not necessarily drive online actions, as was previously, but to begin driving offline actions and to begin to support a volunteer structure where we have lead volunteers in every congressional district in every state, and begin empowering, what we like to say is we empower ordinary people to do extraordinary things in the fight against cancer. And so we're empowering our volunteers using these tools to reach them so they can begin doing the offline types of things that we believe still does have a lot of influence with members of Congress. So things like local media events, where maybe you're not getting a national story, but you're getting a story in a key local paper that you know makes a clip packet. Rolling drop-bys, where we're having volunteers maybe over the course of a week drop things off at the congressional office, or to drop off a little, use some kind of gimmicky thing as well as some talking points about our issue to help have an impact locally. More meetings between volunteers and district staff for a congressional office, or the member of Congress when he or she is back in the district. So really empowering these volunteers to really do these things in person now, making it much more personal as opposed to just an email where the credibility is uncertain. So we kind of come full circle. It's almost kind of old school politics, where we're going back to the way people used to do things before there was email. Phone calls are certainly still an important part, and they do have that personal touch. And I think you see a little bit more phone call happening as well in grassroots, replacing some of those emails on some of your chief targets. And so this actually represents some challenges for grassroots organizations as well. I'm not the first to say, I wouldn't claim to be, that we've evolved from a fact where it used to be, here's what we want you to know and here's the way we're going to tell it to you, into where we are today is, let us tell you what it is you want to know in the way that you want to find out about it. And so what that means is, as we begin to engage with some of these converging technologies, setting up our Facebook page and our MySpace page, implementing a mobile strategy, allowing volunteers to set up their own personal web pages through Convio tools on our website, it presents challenges because we can no longer communicate with our people through one quick blast email. It was always real easy to say, hey, we're going to email everybody one message, and then they're going to go off and do their thing. Whereas now, when we want to implement a very comprehensive legislative campaign and grassroots campaign, we now send an email to the folks who want to receive an email. We are text messaging the folks who want to receive via text. We are putting things on our website for folks who want to download through there. So there's actually, and we're sending a message through our Facebook page to our Facebook friends and users. And so now when we want to implement, it's a multi-stage process for us, but it's really what we are seeing, what we need to do in order to continue to engage our volunteers. And I would say for ACSCAN, we see these converging technologies that we've talked about so far and that others will talk about as really critical to our success as a grassroots organization. And we believe that really if any grassroots organization wishes to maintain their effectiveness and their influence on Capitol Hill and in state legislatures, they're going to have to buy into this converging technology and really begin to utilize it and continue to evolve as that technology evolves.
Thank you, Brian. Well said.